On the 14th of March, 2026, Northeastern University lost 4-1 to Massachusetts Hockey East quarterfinal, and the season was finished.
The captain that night was a defenseman from South Philadelphia, listed at 5'8" and 185 pounds, wearing number 22. 3 days later, on the 17th, he signed a 2-year contract with the Toronto Maple Leafs. He had been eligible for the NHL draft 3 separate times, 2022, 2023, 2024. 674 players were selected across those 3 drafts. He was not one of them. And for the 2 seasons before Toronto called, nobody in American college hockey was on the ice more than he was. Not a defenseman, not a forward, nobody at any school in the country. One request before the rest of it. I made a bet with myself that the Leafs channel would pass the Habs channel this year, and I made that bet without asking any of you first. Correcting that takes 1 tap. Subscribe. The number is 28 minutes and 4 seconds. That was his average in 2024-25, his junior year, and it led every player in the country. The next season, wearing the C, he averaged 27 minutes and 11 seconds a night and led the country again. 2 years in a row, the most heavily used player in American college hockey was the smallest man on the ice. For a comparison, you can feel. In the NHL last season, the leader in ice time was Quinn Hughes of Vancouver at 27 minutes and 44 seconds a night. I am not going to stand here and tell you those 2 numbers mean the same thing. A college season is 36 games, not 82. The travel is a bus. The schedule is 2 games on a weekend with 5 days of school in between. And the opponent is 19-year-olds, not Connor McDavid. But the shape of the job is not a different shape. He killed penalties, he ran a power play unit, he played 5-on-5, and he was on the ice for the last minute of every 1-goal game Northeastern played for 2 years. So why did 674 picks go by? The answer is 1 measurement, and everybody in hockey knows what it is. The average NHL defenseman is about 6'2". When the Philadelphia Inquirer wrote him up in May, they counted the players his height currently on NHL rosters and got to 5 in a league of more than 700. Vinny Borgesi is the exception a team lets itself try only when it costs nothing. Start with what those minutes were actually made of, because 27 a night is not a number you accumulate by standing around. In his final season, he blocked 75 shots, a career high and a team high, in 36 games. That is more than 2 a game from a man giving away half a foot to the people shooting. Across 4 years at Northeastern, he blocked 197, put 252 shots on net himself, and finished with 16 goals and 64 assists in 135 games. He also never came off. 4 full college seasons, a junior career before that, and the workload never once got reduced. One scout, quoted in a Maple Leafs hot stove breakdown after the signing, said he seems to have the best cardio of anybody that Scout has seen in the last 10 years. Toronto did not sign a big body. It signed an engine. His head coach at Northeastern, Jerry Keefe, described the ice time a different way. He said it was never about the number. He said Borgesi's version of it was, "I want to be out there in the big moments when you guys need me, call my name, and I am ready." And Keefe added the line that explains why a coach hands a 5'8" junior almost half a game. "There are players who play for their college team and love it," he said, "and then there are a few who bleed it, and Vinny bleeds it. Look at what the calendar around those minutes looked like, because this is the part that never makes a highlight package. A college schedule is a Friday and a Saturday, back-to-back, usually against the same opponent, in the same building, week after week from October to March. He was playing 27 minutes on the Friday and 27 more on the Saturday. No NHL defenseman is asked for that on consecutive nights. Then December arrived, and while most of college hockey went home for 3 weeks, he got on a plane to Switzerland. He was named to the United States Collegiate Selects for the 2025 Spengler Cup in Davos, and then named captain of that team as well. 4 games in a professional tournament against club sides full of grown men who do this for a living, and 1 assist. He flew home in January and went straight into the second half of a Hockey East season. The path that got him there did not look like a prospect's path at any point. Hockey is not what South Philadelphia does. His father, known around the neighborhood as Big Vinny, coached him until he was 13 and drove him to everything after that. His mother, Maria, played goalie for him in the basement, back when he was small enough for that to work. He came up through Team Comcast and the Valley Forge Minutemen, whose coach John Gavard has said his skating was elite, and his work ethic was probably the best of anybody he has coached. He played 1 year at St. Joseph's Prep, then left home for the South Kent Selects in Connecticut, and he committed to Northeastern at 14 years old. From there, it was 2 seasons in the United States Hockey League with the Tri-City Storm. 106 games, 7 goals, 43 assists, and a +30. That is a solid junior career by any measure. It is not a career that gets your name read out in a draft hall, and it did not. What he did get were invitations. He went to a Vegas Golden Knights development camp. He went to a Florida Panthers development camp in the summer of 2025. 2 organizations put him on their ice, watched him for a week, and sent him home without a contract. He also had the option, before his senior season, of turning professional right then. He went back to school and put on the C instead. That decision is the reason this story has an ending, and it is worth explaining properly because it is a piece of the business that almost nobody outside of it understands. A drafted player belongs to somebody. Toronto takes a kid in the 6th round, and that kid cannot negotiate with the other 31 clubs. Full stop. An undrafted player who finishes 4 years of college belongs to no one at all. On the day his college season ends, he is a free agent, and every team in the league may make him an offer at the same moment. It is the one door in professional hockey where the player, not the club, does the choosing. The cost of walking through it, on the club side, is close to nothing. There is no draft pick to surrender, no trade to make, no compensation of any kind owed to anybody. All a team spends is one of its 50 contract slots, because the collective agreement allows no club to carry more than 50 standard player contracts at a time. That is the entire price of the ticket. And it is why a good college senior gets phone calls from a dozen general managers in the same week, while a drafted teenager waits years for one. Toronto's ticket, in this case, is 2 years at $987,500 a season, beginning with the year that starts next month. When it ends, in 2028, he becomes a restricted free agent. And because the contract did not start until now, he was free to finish last spring on an amateur tryout with the Toronto Marlies, which is exactly what he did. He made his professional debut on the 26th of March against Manitoba. 2 nights later, in Rochester, he collected his first professional point, a second assist on a power play goal. A few weeks after that, the Marlies won the Calder Cup, with Artur Akhtiamov taking playoff MVP, and I would rather be precise than generous about this. That was not his championship. He arrived in the last week of March, on a tryout, at the end of a season that belonged to other people. Here is the case against him, and I am not going to soften it because you can read it in any scouting file. 20 points in 36 games is a fine number for a college defenseman, and a small number for the most used college defenseman in America. His best offensive season was 28 points in 34 games, and that is the ceiling of the evidence, not a floor. The names scouts reach for when they describe him are Troy Stecker, Sam Malinsky, and Nick Blankenberg, and all 3 of those are third-pairing and 7th defenseman careers, not top 4. And the height is not purely a prejudice problem, whatever the comment section says. It is a problem in one specific place on the ice, the few square meters in front of a goaltender, and no amount of cardio moves it. Here is my read on it, offered as opinion and nothing more. I would have signed him, and I would have tried to sign him a year earlier. 2 years at under $1 million for a right-shot defenseman who has apparently never been tired in his life is a free look and nothing heavier than that. If he turns into Blankenberg, that is a genuine NHL player found for the price of a contract slot. If he turns into a very good Marley who plays 25 minutes a night in the American League for 4 years, the farm team gets better, and nothing at all was lost. Where I break with our own crowd is the story people have attached to this signing. The line going around is that the Leafs have finally dropped their obsession with size on defense, and that Borgesi is the proof of it. Look at what this organization has actually stockpiled back there. Prokop at 6'3", Thrun at 6'2", Myers at 6'5", Weber at 6'6". Nothing about that pattern changed in March. What changed is that a 5'8" defenseman became available for free. And free is the only price at which this front office has ever been willing to be curious about a small man. The day Toronto spends a second-round pick on a 5'8" defenseman is the day the philosophy actually changed. And that day has not arrived. One more honest note about the minutes, since they are the reason we are all here. Part of the reason he played 28 a night is that he was excellent. Part of the reason is that Northeastern finished 17-18-1 and did not have anybody else. A very good player on an ordinary team with a coach who has no other option is the exact set of conditions that inflates a usage number in any sport. That does not erase what he did. It should stop us from reading his ice time as a promise about the NHL. 2 things worth writing down. The first is the middle of September, when Toronto opens training camp. The entry-level deal is live now, which means that for the first time in his life, he is not a captain and not a free agent. He is a 22-year-old on a 2-way contract, competing with 5 other defensemen for a job. Watch which pairing he opens the Marlies season on. A player who was the most used man in college hockey and starts on a 3rd pair in the American League is a player the professional game has already given its first answer about. The second is 2028. 2 years is a short runway for a defenseman his size, and it runs out the season he turns 24. Everything he intends to prove, he has to prove inside it. 2 questions, and every comment gets read. The first is about him. Knowing the height, knowing the comparables, do you believe Vinny Borgesi plays an NHL game in a Toronto sweater? Or is he a very good Marley for 4 years, and then a story we tell each other? The second is about all of us. 3 drafts and 674 picks went by on a player who then led the entire country in ice time twice in a row. Do you think scouting genuinely cannot see this type of player? Or do you think it sees him perfectly well and simply refuses to spend a pick on him? Tell me which one, and tell me why.